All right, everyone. Hello. Welcome to Court of the Rings on twitch.tv/LochoStream. I'm your community manager, Cordovan, and I have a special guest with me today. We're going to be doing a preview about the Mariner. I've got OnnMM Mahal here with me. And then later on in the show, we're going to run Stowaway, the Old Man on the Shore, which is the new missions-themed event connected to Tale of the Ancient Mariners, which is live now in the game world. So we got that. We got a bunch of news and a whole bunch more as well. But let me start by bringing on my guest here today, if I can unmute them correctly, which I believe I've just done. Now they
Hey,
can see you. Hello, how's it going?
going quite well.
Nice. So one of the reasons I have you on is you've been pretty deep into making the Mariner here for a while now.
Yes, the Mariner has been a long labor of love. I'm very excited to see it go out to Bull Roar this week. I'm very pleased with the reception. I appreciate all the folks who've gone on and been testing and playing around with it. It's been awesome.
Cool. So we're going to have an opportunity for people in our Twitch chat to sort of ask some questions and get feedback about the Mariner, and just sort of do the regular Twitch thing. But I did want to start by just bringing up a little bit of a primer as to what's a Mariner and how do I Mariner. And so what we're going to do is we're on Bull Roar. Bull Roar does have Mariner available until 5 o'clock this afternoon Eastern Time. So for about another 5 hours here, it's going to be available to preview on Bull Roar, and it'll be coming back in a future Bull Roar preview. But this was its first week that we gave it a public preview here on Bull Roar, so we're just going to go a little bit about what's up with the class and how it all works. So this is a sword-wielding melee fighter that has a balance and swordplay mechanic that really is pretty unique in the space of Locher right now.
Yeah, we're really excited to try to use some of the things that we currently have in the class toolkit in new and interesting ways. We really, we're trying to walk a little bit of a line, as many of you have noticed. Tolkien has a lot of text written about folks on boats, and we in pop culture lean a little bit towards swashbuckling pirates, but we also have a lot of textual examples of like noble sailors. So the class, I hope, does a pretty good job of walking this line of allowing you to have a fun, quick, active swordplay focused fighting style, but also a lot of this song and a little bit of fun bits and bobs here in the skill kit.
We're going to go into some of the trait trees and that a little bit later, so we don't need to focus too much about it. But they do have three full line trait trees, rather than say what we've done perhaps in a few of the more recent class updates where there was more of a general line that was not so much a spec line.
Yeah, we did end up with three full trait trees, the shanty color, the duelist, and the rover. That's sort of just how things broke down. But a big part of that was that we wanted to break a little bit of the hard meta surrounding red captains in groups. So each of these three lines should feel very unique and different, and fully formed in their own right.
All right, we're gonna switch over inside of the game here on Bull Roar. I have a level 140 Mariner rolled up that I can, log into here in a little bit. But I thought we'd just start, frankly, with character generation and make ourselves a Mariner. There's a few races that can't be Mariners, specifically that I saw, elves and dwarves, but the rest basically can. I think for the purposes of this, we're going to make a human. I suppose we could ask a hot button question. Why not elves? What's up with elves?
Why not elves?
Yeah.
The main articulation given is that at this point in the storyline, though there are elves who have experience sailing and are experienced on ships, that elves in this era tend to, when they reach the sea, leave and not return. That's sort of the bullet point summary of why not elves. Not that they can't sail and be mariners, but that when they tend to not come back.
Okay. Well, we don't need to, I think, spend too much time in character generation here. Is there anything in particular that you think maybe we should call out before we just log into one in game? Is inspired by Arendelle. who alone among men successfully sailed to the uttermost west to plead for the aid of the Valar. So,
I would definitely keep in mind that this is an advanced class. It has a specialization that matches the yellow burglar and the yellow lore master, but I also really wanted to make sure that the class didn't feel overcomplicated. I know that, a new class will always be a little bit overwhelming, especially if you jump into it with no knowledge of what's going on at like level 140. But it should be straightforward enough that you can understand what everything does, and you're not confused by the skill kit.
sure, sure. Yeah, so we're going to get into the balance bar, I think, here probably pretty quickly, but I guess what in your mind makes it advanced versus a non-advanced class, and I'm not sure which the one that would be either. So yeah,
So we wanted to make sure that the class is flexible, basically that you have more control over how to react to different situations. So that's where a lot of the swordplay combos and the balance come into play. The balance is a little bit like Runekeeper Attunement, but a lot of classes want to like build a resource and then spend the resource, whereas the Mariner's more like your balance is just shifting as you play. As you do things, your balance is moving around, and you really just want to make sure you're not too far out. You're not unbalanced. So it's a little bit of an extra layer of management, but hopefully it's engaging and fun and makes sense.
so this it really is about you're a sword wielder, specifically a sword wielder. I believe that I saw knives, like daggers, are available as well, but you are using a sword if you're a mariner. That's correct.
The idea is that you are primarily using in your main hand a sword. You have an offhand dagger, but that's really a parrying dagger. We're not quite into like fencing mode, but we definitely lean that direction. We really wanted to play on this because it's a different fighting style from some of the other classes. This like one hand thrusting sword rapier style combat.
All right, so we're looking in the center of the screen here, the kind of U-ish shaped balance bar, and this represents really your physical stance as you're fighting. Fore and aft. Does it correlate directly to offensive on the red side, defensive on the blue?
Pretty much, yes. Yeah. So you can assume for the most part that if you're using skills that are attacking the enemy, that you'll be moving forward. If you're using skills that are healing you, providing defensive buffs, or debuffing enemies, those will be moving you aftward on the balance bar.
All right, and let's get into why that matters, right? So the various skills you have as your class are going to give you all sorts of different benefits, but one of the things they're going to do is move you along either forward or back on that track into red or blue as you use them. And I understand they're basically, as you see in my hotbar here, they're color coded in terms of what they do. Presumably, yellow is either a mix or generally not impacting of the balance bar.
A lot of the yellows are debuffs, which will move you backward. They're a little bit different. Yellow skills tend to be sort of like other skills in the game, but most of them are moving you aftward.
Okay. And so the further along you get, you will get generally benefits toward either offense or defense. But you can go too far and then essentially get sort of reset, stunned a little bit, in fact, back to the
Yeah,
center.
so we wanted to make sure that the feeling of it felt distinctly different from like a Runekeeper attunement or from things like Hunter Focus or Champion Fervor. We wanted to make sure that it wasn't just the more you go to the right, the better you are at offense, and the more you go to the left, the better you are at defense. So they're sort of chunked into buckets. You get bonuses for being steady in the middle, and you'll get different bonuses for being fore on the right or aft on the left. But most of those bonuses have timers, so it's for an amount of time after you are fore. So it's not like you want to keep going to the right. As soon as you cross the threshold into being fore, you get a little bit of a damage bonus. It also unlocks a couple of your finisher abilities, but you really have no incentive to go farther to the right,
Like you
or
see me far,
certainly to go too far. Yeah.
yeah. So you see me at 47 of 50 there, and then boom, I just reset to the center here. So that means particularly maybe if you're engaged in a lengthy combat with a specific foe or something like that, you're going to be kind of managing that balance bar a little bit to make sure that you don't go too far in any one direction in general, right?
Yeah, the idea is that optimal gameplay, if you're playing a Mariner, is that you want to be in the middle and then just hop over into fore or just hop over into aft briefly. But the skills that you're using push you much farther than you need to go, right? If I'm using a really strong offensive skill, it just pushes you really far to the right, and then you want to go back to being steady lest you fall over.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe well, let me take a look at chat here real quick, see if we got some questions. Even though I've got three monitors up, I can only have so much on a screen at one time. Uh, Specifically as it relates to color blindness, the red and blue, maybe we could bring in some kind of symbols or something like that in the future, perhaps? I'm not sure.
Absolutely.
We had a question in chat about, well, I can't really see the red or whatever. What about that? So,
We have a long-standing request to add more color blindness features, but in the short term, I'm always happy to make slight adjustments to the coloration on skills. The problem is that not every kind of color blindness is the same,
mhm.
but if there are specific ones that are impacting people, feel free to let us know.
Yeah. Someone's saying, "Will the balance bar be main capped?" Because I wasn't paying. I don't even have my screen up here. And let me get out of here, so I am not actively taking damage in this room while we talk. All right. Let me just move quick. There we go. Okay. Where was I now? Sorry. Going to questions. The balance bar will be movable on the live worlds. This is just a first preview thing that it can't. It's not currently movable. So.
Oh, was that a question for me? Sorry. Yes.
No, I'm looking through chat
Oh,
right
okay.
now,
No
actually.
worries.
Yeah. I have a question. What about belaying pins, question mark? Do you understand the nature of that question?
Yes, although there are some aspects of being a mariner or a shipman that just aren't necessarily going to translate to the class. I'm always happy to hear about what aspects of being a sailor, a seaman, or a shipman that you'd like to see in the future. We can always think about adding some of that flavor in later.
Thanodeer asks, any chance of getting some kind of like ranged attack and a short cooldown? Basically thinking about landscape pulls and things like that. So.
It's definitely something that may be there. I've got a couple skills that aren't quite finalized, and I know that that's a popular and relatively simple thing. We've got a couple knife throws, so it's definitely something that we can drop in so that you can easily pull at range.
All right. Someone has a question about really how much are you going to have to plan ahead and think ahead, how much memory is used in playing the Mariner here. But this seems like a good opportunity to really kind of get into into the trait system here and talk a little bit about how these things are going to interact in real time. Should I pick maybe red to start with? Does that make
Yeah, I think
sense?
Red
Yeah.
is a good starting point. To answer the question very directly, hopefully not too much. I mean, and any class, especially if you're in a DPS role, you may have some sort of rotation in mind. But the Mariner does have a little bit of variability. The goal was to have a complex combo system, similar sort of to what Wardens have, but without being quite so complex and requiring quite so much stuff to memorize. So the way the swordplay combos are built, they're all two skill combo sequences. One skill improves one or two or three other skills. But you can always hop in or out of any combo. If no matter where I am, I can click one skill and then it'll give me the combos for another skill. So you don't necessarily have to think, 10 steps ahead. It should be, or it should feel, hopefully, a little bit more reactive, so that when something happens, the fight starts to turn one way or another, that you can react to that without feeling like, oh no, I wasn't preparing for this 20 seconds ago. You should be able to more quickly react to things.
Okay. So, are we talking about generally one or two, or are you doing chains? Or are you doing something like sometimes maybe saying, well, I want to start with, I've got maybe four or five things that I'd like to do in combo, and I start with one, two, three, four, that kind of thing.
So the idea is that each skill, because it's improving one or two or three other skills, you can create a long chain of skills. If you can maintain it, you can say, I'm going to use this skill and then use a skill that it improves, and then use a skill that it improves, and then use a skill that it improves, and get like a 5 skill chain combo. But if you mess up somewhere along the way, or you decide, actually, I want to do a different chain, you can easily jump into a different set of combos. The real break point between all of these is when you recenter. So when you're using these skills, if you're using a chain of skills in sequence, you're probably going all the way forward or you're going all the way aft. And you tend to be getting unbalanced. At that point, you can use one of your finisher swordplay skills. And the way that the finishers work is they enable a skill called recenter. So once you've, moved one direction, you can use a skill like lunge, which is an offensive finisher, or you could use a skill like disengage, which is a defensive finisher. And then those let you click recenter, which pushes you back to the middle, and you sort of like get a soft reset.
Okay. So I'm seeing at least some amount of kind of bleeds inherent in the duelist. Is that working is that sort of one of the main focuses of being a duelist here?
Yeah, I mean, the duelist is definitely built around more of these offensive swordplay combos than some of the other lines. So if you're specializing in the duelist tree, or at least significantly buying traits in the duelist tree, it'll give you more offensive skills, it'll give you more AoE potential, and a little bit more bleed potential, so that you can, really push the damage that you're doing and be more valuable in more combat circumstances as just that, offensive DPS role.
Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit. Well, I guess we've talked a little bit about Redline here. What else should we say about Redline before we sort of move over to something else?
We've got a couple fun things that we're trying in Redline, but hopefully Redline feels really snappy. We've got a couple potentially controversial things, but I want to call out, they have a little bit of positional damage. That top right trait tree, or the top right trait in the red tree, is positional damage for facing your enemies. So especially if you're doing things like running delvings, you're playing PvP, or even just like running around landscape, you're almost always facing monsters. So this is sort of like the anti-burglar trait that, like, when you're the focus of attention, you're the flamboyant sword fighter, you get a little bit of a combat bonus for being in front of your opponents. So there's some fun little flavorful things like that built in.
All right. This is a question not related directly to the trees, but it is related to the things they cause. Animations. Do you know the current state of animations on this first preview and what might be in process for that?
The animations should be pretty much complete. I know that there are a couple bugs. We're looking at, like, if you're using Flesh, that is a skill that is doing something that we're trying for the first time in Lotro, where your player actually moves forward when you use the skill. It's got a little bit of weird rubber bandiness that we think we fixed, so hopefully that feels better in the next Bull Roar build. But for the most part, the animations should be pretty complete. I've gotten a lot of really good positive comments from players about the animations. I really appreciate all the love to our animators about the very different fighting style that these animations convey.
Someone had asked essentially, they're asking because of some stat work that was put off for a little bit, but the main question is, which stats should players be emphasizing with their Mariner?
So yeah, so the Mariner is currently in a sort of limbo state. I know that the stat change was pushed off from update 37, but the Mariners are currently under this, like, sort of new stat paradigm. So basically, agility is your most offensive stat, but you can also stat with you can also gain might or will, and that they have different distributions of stats that you're getting from those. So they're all useful, but they do slightly different things.
Okay. So let's take a look at the shanty caller, our blue line here. We had talked a little bit at the start here about shanties, so let's get a little bit more into it. How's it going to work? You're doing what now? So
Yeah, the shanty color is a bit of a new thing. We really wanted to provide an alternate to the Red Captain in terms of the offensive buffs that are being provided. So several of these are mutually exclusive with Red Captain buffs, which is basically to say, sometimes you want the effectiveness of a Red Captain, but you just don't like playing it, or you don't have someone in your kinship that is playing it, or they're not online, or whatever. So the Mariner Shanty color line is meant to be an alternative to the Red Captain trait tree. That said, it should also feel very different to play. You're still using swordplay skills. You're singing a lot of these things as opposed to what the captain's skills are using. We also got some great sound effects from our composer in for the shanties. So we really wanted this to feel different, even if it's sort of technically doing the same thing that a Red Captain is doing.
Okay, so that means I guess we probably are going to need to try to play one of these shanties on the stream here. Is that something that do you know is it in for
Yeah,
this preview here?
yeah, you should be able to click a couple of those. The wind skills that you've got.
Okay. So like the frigid north wind, things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the frigid north wind you got, yeah, right there. The south
South
wind.
wind. Okay.
When you hit apply, you'll gain a trait from the passive on the side that is the west wind. A few players have asked about the winds. There is explicitly a line in the Fellowship of the Ring where they talk about the winds. After Boromir has died, they each Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli sing different verses of a song asking the wind for tidings, as the Gondorians ask the wind for tidings. And Gimli says, "You left the east wind to me," and Aragorn says, "No, no, no. The in Gondor, you don't ask the east wind for tidings. The east wind is an evil wind that comes from Mordor." So the class has the north wind, which is an offensive skill that harms your foes, and then the west wind and the south wind that are positive winds that mariners love to have. That's how you sail to Middle Earth, and so we tried to have that conveyed through these skills.
All right, I'm going to turn up the game audio here just a little bit, see if we can get one of these. I'll start with the west wind here, okay? Is this that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So they're kind of like, the other one's still on cooldown. Yep. Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, we got some really exciting new animations and visual effects and sound effects for this class.
All right, here we go. Here's the... All right. Cool. All right, so what else should we say about the shanty collar here?
I think that's most of the core aspect of the shanty color. The other thing is, we wanted to make sure that things like balance and swordplay feel integrated in all of the lines, even though the duelist is really like the swordplay line. All three of the trait specializations, you should feel like you're continually interacting with swordplay combos, and that you're still thinking about balance the whole time, just slightly different ways.
Okay, so then let's go into yellow line here. The rover uses anything on hand to hinder foes. They embrace a traveling lifestyle, exploring distant lands. In a pinch, they're capable of turning these odds and ends into devices and confounding and weakening their foes. So, the rover chucks stuff, huh?
Yeah, so we were sort of thinking, the duelist is sort of designed after a character like Thorongil, who is uh, maybe I won't, for those who don't know that spoiler, but a great sword fighter. The shanty collar designed after Erendil, the noble, ally, the character who supports your allies. But the rover is really the sort of world traveler, the person who has been all over, discovered strange things, and learned how to combine them in different ways. So this line definitely matches the Mischief Maker in the Burglar specialization and the Ancient Master for Lore Masters. It is very much the debuffing enemies trait line, where you can you throw a lot of weird concoctions that you've mixed up and rare materials that you've found.
Okay. So, is there one of these in particular that I should try chucking
You
at
could, you
something
could,
here?
yeah. If you grab most of the things in the tree, you'll have a few. So several of these, for mechanical reasons, we wanted to make sure that they were limited to this trait specialization. So you don't have a lot of these debuffs if you're specialized in the other lines. But you'll get several new thrown pot abilities. You'll get some enemy CC and some improved enemy CC. Uh, yeah, so you've got a few additional yellow debuffing skills over here now.
All right. So, yeah, chucking vials and things like that. Does it center then on presumably kind of area of effect attacks, things like that?
A lot of them are AoEs. Yeah, we wanted to make sure that this didn't feel annoying to maintain. Basically, if you're the person who in the group is in charge of just making sure that enemies are CC'd, and you see a new pack of 20 enemies running at you, I didn't want it to feel like, oh, now you have to tab through each one of them and use each of your different skills over and over again. So a lot of the debuffs are centered around AoE effects, so that you can hit lots of enemies at once.
And you saw you can actually see some placement as well, where you can sort of place it on the ground where you want and what have you. So,
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that this is, feels flexible, and again, like you're in control of what you're using and how you're impacting enemies.
all right, all right.
But again, you can see your balance meter shifted pretty far to the left now. You've been using a lot of debuffs. You're getting
Yes.
into the danger zone.
Yeah. So then what you would just generally do is use some of my red skills to bring it back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There you go. So again, it should feel like if you're using a good mix of these abilities in combat, that you can stay balanced, but that you do need to be mindful of that.
Yeah. Okay. Before I wanted to get you on here for about a half hour, and then we're gonna do Stowaway here on the live game worlds as well. And I want to give people an opportunity to just ask some general questions. Uh, I did want to touch base on, say, like the class traceries, LI stuff, and things like that. Um, they are going to be able to get their own kind of LI sword and traceries and things for it, right?
Yes, if you are on the Bullroar test server, you should be able to get a Hidden Horde armor set, some Guathrenos jewelry, a legendary sword. Your class item is a legendary haversack, and the Mariners will also be using as a sort of incidental class item. We'll also have instruments, so you can pick up a flute that would be from Sagroth if you're on the test server.
Okay. Let me get to chat here then and see what else we'll have more information about how you'll be able to get the Mariner here in the future. We're not in a position to talk about the way you'll acquire the Mariner on the stream here today. We can't make that announcement. It'll be coming with the expansion, and I think most players have a pretty good sense of how they'll be able to purchase the Mariner, but we'll have more specific details about that in the future. I am looking at Twitch chat just to see what we might want to answer here before I let you go. Can you talk about the rummage skill and what that is for?
Yeah, rummage is a bit of flavor. We wanted to convey this idea that you've collected a lot of things on your travels. So rummage is definitely it's a skill where if you click it, you'll rummage in your pockets and find something. So it'll turn into one of I think five right now different skills. Now you could choose to use that skill, which will put it on cooldown, or you can just let that go away and then wait and rummage again. So it's not the most impactful skill in the world, but you might find, you rummage and you find just the thing that you were looking for, or you rummage and you're like, that's not what I need right now. So you can always just wait and then rummage again.
It sounds like a question about how instruments. Could you clarify how instruments are sort of involved with the Mariner here?
Yeah, so they're not, the most impactful part of the class, but most classes have, or as players know, instruments are equipped in your range slot. Most classes have a different thing that's equipped in your range slot, so you don't have an instrument equipped unless you're a minstrel. The Mariner isn't, fully designed around instruments, but we wanted to make sure that you can just have one equipped. It fits the vibe of, especially the shanty caller, but also the class in general. So it's a little bit of fun that you can have, various instruments equipped while you're running about the world.
Out of combat run speed perk question mark.
You get a tiny little one, actually, from being steady. If you're in a steady state, you get a little bit of run speed buff, and you are fully immune to dazes, stuns, and roots because you're steady. And on top of that, if you trait into the shanty calling line, you can pick up the South Wind. The main impact of the South Wind, it looks like someone just used it on Cord just now,
Yep.
on the test server, is a run speed buff.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap up your visit to the show here. I think we've given a nice, decent primer on how the Mariner is going to work, and we do have additional previews for you to check it out. You can also find it for the next few hours this afternoon on Bull Roarer, but it's been up since Wednesday. And we did do a special preview as well for content creators and others, and that was exciting to do. So, a lot of good Twitch and YouTube content out there already on the Mariner, and we'll be seeing this get further polished and developed here in the coming weeks. Anything in particular we should let people know about in terms of kind of what they may see over the next few previews and such?
We've got definitely got some fixes coming, but mostly just keep the feedback coming. I'm responding to what you folks are saying about how things feel, what things you like, what things you don't like. So keep the feedback coming in.
Great. All right. Well, thanks very much for joining me here on Mac Mahal. Real nice to talk to you.
Thank you for having me, and thank you everyone for the comments on the Mariner.
All right. I am getting OMM off camera there, and I am going to be back in 1 minute here. I'll be swapping game clients, and I'll be right back. All right, here we go. Let me actually go and put the Twitch screen on a third different monitor here quick so I can see your chat. Someone in Lotro made a fantastic joke. Where did I see that now? Was it on the forums? Where can I find that joke now? It won the Dad Joke of the Day award in my mind. I'll see if I can call that up later on in the show. It was pretty good. All right, so what am I doing here? The Tale of the Ancient Mariner is currently available inside of the game. That kicked off yesterday. The Combe Forester event is also live right now. I suppose I could do that real quick. Get you a little bit of news because we do have some things happening. So the Tale of the Shipwrecked Mariners runs until 3 a.m. Eastern on September 20th. So through September 19th, being shut off at 3 a.m. Eastern on September 20th for Tale of the Shipwrecked Mariners and Stow Away the Old Man on the Shore. Also this year, we have a guide That's up on Lotra.com. This event really doesn't need much of a guide. It's pretty basic, but it'll at least let you know where the coordinates are of the NPCs in case you need to find them or forget or just want to look it up. I would also call out that next week we have the Baggins' birthday celebration. That begins at 10 a.m. Eastern on September 20th and then runs until 3 a.m. Eastern on September 26th. So that's a pretty cool thing. A quick note on a bonus, we are doing free daily gold Hobbit presents for VIPs. That runs through October 10th. And let me just quick drop a link to the event guide here in our Twitch chat. I would also quick note that we did release update 37.1 this week, and you can find the release notes for that on Lotra.com. Alright, so let's get in game here. I'm going to pick up Tale of the Shipwrecked Mariner, and I need to speak to Aran here, and you'll know Aran here is up a bit. Here's where I am, here. We need to head into Evendim. I find it easiest to do it this way. And then you'll see Arandir here. But before you get to Arandir, you will run into Falnavar, most likely. And that is where the stowaway old man on the shore is. So what I thought I would do is just kind of start here over by the Brandywine Bridge and show you how to get to where you might want to be quick. So the Tale of the Shipwrecked Mariners event has been in the game for a very long time. You know, you don't want to denigrate anyone's work toward the event, but it was always kind of a smaller event inside of the game. It's just a little bit where you talk to someone, pick up crates and things, and then get yourself like a Mariner's eye patch and hat. And that has been in the game for quite a few years. But I believe it was mostly Orion, but I think some others were also involved in it as well, where we wanted to add something new to the sort of this bit of seasonal recurring event that we like to do. And so what we've done is add a series of missions and a new story called Stowaway, the Old Man on the Shore. And I will get you over there in just a little bit. But you basically are going up north along the Brandywine River into Evendim to go find Arandir and Falnavar. There are there are shorter ways you can do this, but I'm just showing you the way to get there from the NPC of the Tale of the Shipwrecked Mariner event. So I could actually go more along the shore, but I figured I'd save myself a little time. That's what I get for doing that. Alright, I am actually going to cross over the Brandywine at this point. You can see, here we go, I'm now on the map. I don't have any news regarding changes for emotes for the River Hobbits at this time, Martin. I've raised that with the team, and we'll see what we want to do there. Alright, while I'm swimming, can I find my joke? I don't know if I can. I can't. I'm not sure where I put it, or where it was. If I remembered which forum thread it was in, I'd re-find it. I'm gonna have to leave you hanging. It might have been Menadler. Was that your joke that I'm talking about? If you know, just go put it in chat. That would be sweet. I can't remember it enough to want to just try to say it because it'll be even less funny. It could just be related to my frill settings. Maybe I've got more frills active than you do on this section. I basically have everything up to pretty close to max, if not max. Alright, this is where we're going. Well, first let me actually speak to Aran here, and then we'll go back. Yes, I would expect to see Sev on the stream here in the near future. Don't know exactly when. It's just been kind of a loose schedule that we've been talking about doing it. I'm sure we will. But I wanted to get OnnMM Mahal on this week, because that seemed most appropriate for our Mariner preview. Alright, so we can collect our bottles of ale and things like that, but I'm going to bring you over to Falnavar here. We're crossing over to the other side of the beach. That's the one! Armatey, did you know that on St. Kitts ye can get a fruit pie for $1? But in the city of Port-au-Prince, ye can get a mushroom pie for $2. And yet that if ye sail to Jamaica instead, ye can get a meat pie for $4. 'Tis true, matey, for those be the pirates of the Caribbean. That's it! You win. Big fan. Big fan am I. There we go. Oops. What did I do? Okay. Oh. That's what happened. Had to load in quick. Here we go. Falnavar. Over on the shore here. I would also point out that in the coming weeks, in addition to having Sev visit, I know that we do have at least one developer diary I'm aware of that'll be coming, that'll talk a little bit more about general crafting changes that'll be arriving with Update 38. and we'll have additional Bull Roar previews, and we'll have Sev on. And also, starting next week, I'm going to be announcing it on social media later today, but we're going to be kicking off a series of casual stroll live streams on our Twitch channel here. Let me real quick call up the formal date of that so I can make sure that it's correct. So next Wednesday, the 20th at 2 p.m. Eastern, right here on twitch.tv/LocherStream. And then every week for the next 4 weeks, we're going to be doing a casual stroll live stream. Scenario is going to be on our Twitch channel here, showing off the new areas of Corsairs of Umbar. And we're going to be starting here with King's Gondor and move on from there. So that's going to be happening starting next week. We'll be getting word out about that today on our social channels and elsewhere. But you've heard it here first, I think, which is that we're doing a series of Casual Stroll live streams ahead of Corsairs of Umbar. And that starts next Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, and that continues every week beyond that. So, and I know we've got some other kind of diary and publishing plans too, and we'll see how much of that we can get done in these weeks here. So okay, so we were speaking to Falnavar. In his youth long ago, he had no love for land or leisure. He was a tough, brutish lad who spent time with ruffians and ne'er-do-wells, always taken by the flow of water. And so you'll speak to them a while to really kind of hear their story as you find them dying on the shore here. And I'm not going to, like I say, I don't want to totally spoil it, because it is an 11 mission series. It does earn you LIXP pretty nicely, if I do say so myself. And at the end of it, you'll get a special cosmetic outfit that is sort of Mariner themed. The sound of plunderers echoes in the tavern. The pirate jokes, yes. Yes, indeed. So the captain says, hey, you fought pretty good. You should join my crew. At which point, the mariner does. I stood in front and pledged an oath to serve Gondor and the steward Denethor, who sat in our king's stead. No, Danthaman, I would not expect full 4K support before the new year. That's a long-term project that we've done various amounts of work on over the years, but I would not expect that by the end of the year. I don't know. I know ETA as to when something like that might ever be available. But we'll make sure to let you know when it is. It would be cool. It would be really cool. It's a big project. So I don't know who did the writing for this. I think, of the belief that Orion did much of the story work on this particular one, but I could be mistaken. I'll have to touch base with him and see kind of what the origin is on that. Yeah, I know he designed it, but I think he may have actually done some of the story work on it, too. I don't even know what Court of the Rings merch would be. I'd have to think about that. What would I want Court of the Rings merch to be? So in Massachusetts here all week long, we were being told to prepare for some pretty severe weather with the Hurricane Ida coming in, but it ended up basically going offshore. So I think some of the coastal areas of New England are perhaps in for a rough 24 hours. But here, it's sunny and beautiful. It's just a sunny, beautiful, summery day. It's quite nice. And so rather than a weekend worried about bad weather and things, it looks like just it gets to be a nice, easy weekend. That's cool. There must be a townsperson I am missing up here, huh? No? Oh, maybe down by the docks? Nope. No. It went down here, I don't think. Alright. Last time I ran this on Bull Roarer, I guess, earlier this week, and I just sort of found the people. Which one am I missing, I wonder? Oh, there we go. Okay. It's the middle part beard aesthetic, I suppose. I mean, I guess I could see it, you know. We're both a couple of Gen X dudes. We will hunt them down and scuttle their ships. Which proves to be a very bad idea. And that battle against Yerrick, we knew that we would lose. I'm still unsure why they fled that night, yet they did, and that spurred the captain to scour the seas for years to come. Our patrols took us west into the Bay of Belfalis, sometimes into the Great Sea. We never ventured far enough to threaten Umbar, but the corsairs from the south would trespass into Gondorian water often. Once we spied a ship moored off the coast of Tolfalis with its sails drawn down. We recognized it at once as Yerrick's ship. Our captain set out. We cornered them. So today's show was a Mariner preview with OnnMM Mahal, a little bit of Q&A there, and now I am showing off at least the first couple of sections here. This will probably be the last section I show of Stowaway, the Old Man on the Shore, which is the new event that arrived yesterday with Tale of the Shipwrecked Mariners, which runs through September 19th, going until 3 a.m. Eastern on September 20th. So we're scuttling their boats. Find and defeat Yerrick and his crew. Yeah, this one's one of the more combat-focused missions, from what I remember. So I understand that Tolkien Professor is not on after me today due to just being busy focusing on some important biz at the university there. So I'm gonna go a few minutes late, and then I think Druid's Fire is gonna be coming on after that. I will complete this story here, this mission, and then I'll wrap up the show. I don't know if there's too much else to mention. I think the other big piece that I had neglected prior was to call out Scenario's show next week. And that's going to be pretty exciting. That'll be hot. It's going to be a casual stroll, but for the news stuff. We've got it split into 4 different weeks just due to the nature of the landscapes and what have you. There's sort of 5 places that we've identified that we'll be visiting on these shows. Any plans for Twitch giveaways or drops in the future? Well, yes. Not drops, but we do occasionally do giveaways. Not so much on this show, but on the other shows. In particular, I give out codes for people to give away. on Locher Stream and things like that fairly regularly. I would expect to see us do that here for Extra Life in the coming weeks. You know, we're not too far away from game day itself in November, and we'll be kicking off our Extra Life efforts pretty soon. I don't know when. Maybe early October would be my guess. But we'll see. I myself am going to be out of town part of the first week of October or so, so I may wait till I get back from that to launch Extra Life. But I might also launch it beforehand and then just sort of head out. Which isn't necessarily the greatest. Alright, am I missing one? One? There we go. Twitch drops require integrating the API, the Twitch API, into the game client. And that's a not insignificant engineering and development task that we have, to date, chosen not to do. Do not have a release date for the expansion. Typically, what we've been doing of late is when we start our pre-purchase campaign, the pre-purchase page information includes a release date of the expansion. And I would expect that to be the case here as well. We thought we had them, but the cunning corsairs used weapons we had never seen to shatter the shore and cover their escape in our longboats. The captain was vexed and vowed to bring the Corsair Marauder to justice. And that's where we're going to wrap it up here. There are another 8 parts to this. You see the full tale, and you have through September 19th to run that. Hope you have fun with it. This is a pretty cool event, and a reminder as well that the Combe Forester event is also underway. I'm going to have to actually add that to the calendar here, I think. Perhaps later today. I realize it's not in our public event schedule yet. I'll have to figure out how we want to handle that. But yeah, that's available here as well, running for the next 10 days. It'll be gone for 2 weeks, and then it'll be on a rotating schedule of being back for 10 days. So, typically we do not announce the pre-purchase date ahead of time. That is not something that we have typically done. I'm not sure I would expect to see that in this case either. And yeah, show's available on YouTube afterwards. All right, thanks everyone for watching Court of the Rings on twitch.tv/LocherStream. There are shows all week long, all day and night, all weekend as well. You can find the full schedule over on twitch.tv/LocherStream. Have a great weekend, everyone. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.